here we are, they're our neighbor, and we've got this incredible opportunity to reach out to them and love them, build relationships with them. And we have found that they are looking for relationships, and they're very open to having spiritual conversations.
Hi, I'm Pam Flannery, and welcome to a brand new podcast, Moving Mountains, celebrating wins that different churches and the church as a whole have experienced, particularly over this past year. In this podcast, I get the amazing opportunity to talk with pastors from all over the country, from many different denominations and backgrounds, and I look forward to listening along with you as they share with us how they overcame challenges during these uncertain times. Each month, you'll hear stories that inspire you and your leaders, prompting fresh ideas for your ministry. Welcome to Moving Mountains. Hi, my name is Pam Flannery, and I lead our customer communities at Pushpay and Church Community Builder. Today, I have the honor to introduce you to Mark Shetler, Executive Pastor at River City Christian in Rancho Cordova, California. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks. It's really good to be with you today. Yes, I'm the executive pastor. I've been on staff at River City for about 18 years, I think it is. Started out as the high school pastor, loved youth ministry, and I thought I'd be the youth pastor that would be still doing things with students up until I was like 65. But I finally got to the point that I'm just not sure I want to sleep on the church floor one more time for an all-nighter. So eventually I kind of transitioned out of student ministries, became the executive pastor. And in that role, I oversee all of our adult ministries, as well as our local outreach and our global outreach as well. And also oversee the individual on our church staff who runs with CCB and has done a great job getting us connected with CCB a couple of years ago. I'm still learning how to use everything to its full potential, but it really has been a blessing for us as well.
I'm glad. So you are known to be creative. And one day your pastor asked you to take a week away and come up with something amazing for outreach for the Christmas season. I haven't had the privilege of meeting your pastor yet, but I highly respect him for acknowledging your gifts and giving you the freedom to create something that has made a huge impact in your community. Can you tell us about that time away and what was birthed from that?
Sure thing. Our senior pastor's name is Jesse Smith, and he came to me. We had a long-standing tradition in our church of doing a Christmas production. It was a Broadway-style show. It was excellent. It had a great impact on our community for, I think it was about 20 years. But we finally, with some staff changes and changes in demographics in our church, as well as just changes in the community, we felt like it was time to go a different direction, do something different. So he said, I have no idea what that is, Mark. Go and take a week, study leave, and come up with something. And I have to admit, I was a little bit nervous about that because the program had been such a part of the DNA of our church. But I started praying and I started thinking, and I was online looking at what other churches were doing. And by the middle of the week, I was getting a little nervous, or even more nervous, because I hadn't come up with anything. And I went to bed that night saying, God, you got to help me out. Give me something. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I don't very often say that I felt like God spoke to me, but this was one of those times that I felt like God woke me up in the middle of the night and just said, why don't you provide a Christmas mall for people in need in your community? And I thought, okay, went back to sleep, got up in the morning, and then started to kind of flesh that out a little bit, what it would look like. Brought some ideas back to our church staff, and we talked about it more, and it grew into this incredible vision that we were very excited about. What we were going to do was invite some people in need from our community onto our church campus, provide them a very classy, nice meal, and then provide them each with a $50 voucher to go shopping in stores that we would create out of our classrooms in the church building. And each store would be stocked with new merchandise. We didn't want hand-me-down stuff. We didn't want used stuff. We wanted new merchandise, and would allow a child to go shopping for their parents. So maybe for the first time, a child would be empowered to buy a gift for mom or buy a gift for grandpa or something like that. And instead of a family just parents coming to a place and just receiving these gifts, but they have no choice about what they're going to give their child, they were actually empowered to be able to make their own selections for what they wanted to get for their child. And then in addition to that, we thought, well, let's also try to pamper everybody a little bit. So we also created a full-service salon and spa where people could come in and get their hair cut, shampoo, get it styled. They could get their nails done. We worked with a couple of the massage therapy schools in the area, and they came in to do chair massages for our people, which was especially good for the men. The men really were enjoying that, especially some that were literally living on the streets. Them being able to get massages, that was a really special blessing for them. And then all kinds of activities for the children, karaoke and creating ornaments that they could decorate their home wherever that was. And lots of entertainment, lots of opportunities for them to get a free Bible if they wanted, as well as we had a very private area if people wanted to come in and just share prayer requests. And we had some of our prayer team that was there just to pray with our guests. We started off with a small number. We thought the first year we'd have, I think, about 100. I think we ended up with about 300 that year. It's grown exponentially, and we've topped off, I guess 2 years ago, our highest attendance was about 1,300. We tried to scale it back a little bit just in terms of being able to offer the best kind of experience for our guests. So we're try to keep it maxed around 1,000 people. Last year, we weren't able to do the same thing because of COVID. We did a few other things instead. But this year, we're looking forward to having everybody back on campus. And we have about 700 to 800 volunteers as well. So there's a lot of one-on-one interaction that is just really super special.
Wow, that's a big undertaking. Huge.
It is, but it's a team effort, and our entire staff joins in, and our whole church donates all of the items. We try to get some of the local vendors to stores to be able to give us make some donations. And being here in California, there's not a lot of openness to a religious organization asking for donations. So our people really stepped up to the plate, and they've donated. So with 1,000 people coming, we need to have a minimum of $50,000 worth of merchandise. And it's amazing. Our people just donate all year long. And it's a way for them all year to be thinking about people in need in our community.
I love that.
You know, one of the challenges of any outreach program is actually getting volunteers, supplies, donations, keeping track of everything, even keeping everyone up to date. The good news is that ChurchStack is able to help with all of that. The needs feature within the management software lets you easily send out a request for volunteers, supplies, or really any need. 2 days before the event, an automatic email reminder is sent to those who signed up for that specific need. And with the customizable app, you can set up an impact card letting your members know all about the outreach, and you can send out push notifications to keep them up to date. If you want to learn more about how ChurchStack can help you move your mountains, click the link in the description below to get in touch with the team at Pushpay.
What is the biggest needs that you have seen? Because I know you shared about, from this, you've started a refugee program. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've been working with a variety of nonprofits in the area, trying to work with organizations that really know the community and know the people in need in our community. And so they are the ones who really vet all of the guests who come, and their organizations that are working with their clients on a regular basis. We had already been working with World Relief, which is a Christian resettlement agency, working to help the church, to equip the church to reach the vulnerable in our communities. And so we started working with them, particularly in inviting some of their clients to come and be a part of that. Most of those individuals are from Iraq or from Afghanistan. I think we've had a few from Syria. And so they're almost all from a Muslim background and not had a lot of experience with Christmas. And so it's been an incredible opportunity for us to reach into that refugee community, the Muslim community, and begin to build relationships with them. And so alongside that, while we were starting out this Christmas Mall, we also started some outreaches specifically for the refugee community during the year. And so we were offering ESL classes for the women. We actually finished a class recently during COVID that had started off in person and then it had to move online, but we were able to finish that. But we were doing ESL classes. We were doing classes for the students, doing tutoring with them, helping them out with whatever their homework assignments were, and again, especially English, and helping the gentlemen look for jobs, and so how to create a resume here in America, as well as how to apply for jobs online and things like that. So it's been a whole lot of fun. We have seen a lot of people who've never had a friend that they've never known a Christian well enough that they would have actually called them a friend. And so we've been able to develop those relationships with them. That has been such a blessing. You know, for years American churches talked about the 1040 window. That area of the world is pretty impoverished, often experiences a lot of warfare and violence, and has very little access to the gospel or the individuals, many peoples within that 1040 window. Not all, but many really do not have a strong Christian movement. They may not have any churches. They may not have any missionaries working with them. And so for years we prayed for that part of the world. God, send some people there and do something. And God, I think, answered the prayer by bringing the 1040 window to us. And the Sacramento area is one of the most diverse areas in the whole country. And we've had a large influx of refugees. And here we are, they're our neighbor, and we've got this incredible opportunity to reach out to them and love them, build relationships with them. And we have found that they are looking for relationships, and they're very open to having spiritual conversations.
You also shared a story that really touched my heart. I think it was your Christmas outreach,
Yes.
where one of the volunteers was doing nails of a Muslim woman. Can you share about that? That was really precious.
One of our volunteers at the church, she had done a couple things with some of the refugee women. She just wasn't sure. She didn't feel very confident because she didn't know an awful lot about the Muslim faith. She didn't feel very strong about explaining the Christian faith, and yet she loves the Lord, and she just didn't know where she quite fit in. So when it came time for our Christmas Mall, like I said, we have this full service salon and spa. I said, you know, you've got this opportunity to paint nails, and you can sit and just have a conversation with some of these Muslim women that come through. And so she said, okay, I'll try that. Well, you know, she's sitting there with this Muslim woman, and it was like, 20 minutes to half an hour where she's just sitting there holding her hand, and it's a very intimate, special time. And they just begin to share about life. And she just asked the woman about family, about what it was like as she escaped the violence in her homeland, came here to the United States. And she shared about how she has family members that are still in danger back in her homeland. And at the end of the nail painting time, our volunteer just squeezed her hand and said, would it be okay if I prayed with you right now? And the woman started to tear up a little bit, and she acted like she wasn't quite sure what that meant. And she said, okay. And our volunteer just began to pray with her, prayed in the name of Jesus that God would bless her in this homeland and draw her closer to the heart of God and reveal himself to her and to take care of her family. And at the end, again, she prayed in the name of Jesus. And at the end, the woman just had tears streaming down her eyes. And she said, "No one has ever prayed for me before." She had never had that experience. And in Islam, often, especially women that are often looked down upon and don't have the same kind of respect that men might have. And to have such a personal connection, it's not just a religion out there somewhere. This was real faith touching her hands and giving her an opportunity to be brought to the heart of the Father, where she got to experience his love in a special way. I'm not sure what has happened with that woman since that time, but I know that God planted a seed in her heart. And with the tears she had cried that day, I know that the Lord will continue to use that in her memory to draw her closer to him.
Mark, this has to make a huge impact on your church and those that are serving. Because, when we serve others, I feel like I'm more blessed than those that, we're serving. Because you hear stories like this, it had to impact that lady's life.
Yeah, very much so. And I think we've found over and over again, putting politics aside or whatever you hear in the media, people are people, and everyone has been created in the image of Almighty God. And if we take the time to get past the stereotypes and to sit and have conversations with people and realize that even people with different beliefs, even with different backgrounds, they still want some of the same basic things that you and I want. We want, our family to be safe. We want them to be healthy. We want our community to be a positive place to live and to raise our children and all. And when you just get to sit down and have conversations, hold someone's hands and paint their nails or, whatever it is, you realize that, wow, God has put within all of us this desire for something better than what this world has to offer. And then it allows us to say, but I've experienced that. I may not have all the answers, and I don't know how to answer all the questions you might have about your religion or that you do Christianity because of your religion. But I can tell you, this is what Jesus has done for me. And I can pray for you in his name and ask God to work in your life. And I think that's so empowering for our people to realize you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be afraid. You just learn to be yourself and share the Jesus that lives within you. And that empowers you to work with all kinds of people, wherever you're at work, at school, in your neighborhood, on the golf course, whatever. It gives you that ability. Let's just talk about how wonderful Jesus is and what he's done for us in our own lives.
So what would you say to pastors and ministry leaders that maybe they have a desire to start some type of an outreach like this to refugees or in their community, but maybe they're just hesitant? Maybe they feel like we don't have the resources or we don't have the finances, or our church is maybe smaller and we're already struggling. What would you say to pastors and ministry leaders?
I would just say that if we have Jesus, we have what we need. I think that sometimes we want to create these large programs, and there's a place for that. We have this large program called Christmas Mall that, costs us thousands of dollars, and all of these volunteers and lots of organization. And that has its definite place, and we're thankful for that. But sometimes it's just simply inviting a family to dinner. It's meeting someone in a restaurant. It's sharing a cup of tea together and realizing that people want relationship. We've all been created for community. And if there's a way that we can help provide community, and as believers, showing them the hospitality that Jesus wants us to have, I think we have what we need. And I think we can make an impact. If anybody ever would want to talk to me about that, I'd love, they can just contact us on the church website, rivercitychristian.org. I'd love to talk to people about, some ways and strategies that we've used. But I really think the biggest thing is just meet people, go and talk to people, and just ask, hey, I'd like to know more about you and your culture. People love to talk about themselves, and that opens up the door for a more meaningful, deeper spiritual conversation. So you have what you need if you've got Jesus.
Thank you so much for sharing. You really, truly have inspired me. And I actually want to look for churches in my area that maybe have started a refugee program, or they're thinking
That'd be
about it.
great.
Who knows, Mark, maybe I'll volunteer. This will be great.
That
So
would be excellent.
yeah, well, we'll be in touch, and I'm so thankful that we get to partner with you. Meeting pastors and leaders like you just encourages not only me, but all of us here at Pushpay and Church Community Builder. And it makes us, it affirms in us that we're doing the right thing. It makes us want to be better. We want to go from good to great. We want to build even a more dynamic software. When I hear stories like this, the first thing I think about is, what can we do to support you? How can we make things better for you? So thank you that you give us that opportunity. We appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, and God bless all the people that listen in. I pray that God would bless their outreaches into their communities as well.
Me too. Thank you.
Okay.
This has been Pushpay's Moving Mountain podcast, real talk from church leaders about overcoming challenges and growing their ministries. If you'd like to learn more about church staff or any of the features mentioned in our podcast, visit us at pushpay.com. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get notified whenever a new episode comes out. You don't want to miss any of these great conversations with amazing people. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.